Good evening and welcome to Business Live. Coming up this evening, auditing firm Deloitte joins calls for government to seek debt relief. Ghana Airport Company denies claims by former President John Dramani Mahama of plans to privatize Kotoka International Airport. Also coming up, Economics Intelligence Unit predicts implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement could take longer than the 2021 first quarter target. Details plus many more coming up after this break. Head of Financial Advisory at Deloitte, Yao Latte, says the impact of COVID-19 pandemic presents a perfect opportunity for Ghana to request a debt relief from the International Monetary Fund and World Bank. He believes that aside the several interventions by government to revive the economy, there is a justification for the country to get debt relief similar to what was given in the year 2001. Ebenezer Sabote has more in the following report.
Ghana's debt ratio is rising at a rate many described as unsustainable. The country's public debt stock currently stands at around 255 billion cedis after the finance minister Ken Ofori-Atta presented the supplementary budget and mid-year review. Many economists have been making inputs on how revenue can be generated to revive the economy after the coronavirus pandemic. Speaking to Joy Business, auditing firm Deloitte believe that despite measures put in place by the government, the finance minister should seek debt relief from international donors. Here is Head of Financial Advisory, Yao Latte.
We should take advantage of the pandemic and also apply for the debt relief from international partners. I think one of the benefits we got around about the year 2000 and 2001 was when we opted for the HIPC. And it helped us because it gave government a lot of relief to invest in other projects. If we use the pandemic as a situation to make a strong case to our development partners to do some debt cancellation, we will get a lot of relief.
But do we have enough justification for that?
I mean, there's a lot of justification for that. And I think the conversation has started. And government should strongly push it and join other developing countries to push that conversation strongly. Because we have enough justification to do it. Our debt stock is not sustainable. It's not something that we can continue doing.
Deloitte has also been proposing different mechanisms of borrowing in order to maintain Ghana's debt to GDP ratio.
There are people who are living in luxurious homes who've never paid property rates. And those properties are identifiable. There's no way the person can hide that property. And so if we are not able to tax even properties, then you know that we are really struggling to raise the necessary revenue to support our budgets. Also on the point about borrowing, we are in a pandemic situation, and therefore, as you see with a lot of other countries, over 80 countries have applied to the IMF for support. And so we are not the exception. We are part of the lot. But I think we'll go back to the age-old mantra that there has to be a smart borrowing. We should borrow the money and invest them in self-financing projects. That reduces the debt to GDP ratio.
The country's debt to GDP ratio currently falls around 11%, according to data from the Finance Ministry.
Scientists at the Crop Research Institute are incorporating disease-resistant genes into popular aromatic variety of rice. Rice yellow mottle virus and rice blast disease are said to be the major cause of crop loss. Researchers say the new method over the next 5 years is part of measures to avoid the impact of outbreaks like COVID-19.
What we are doing here at the moment is that we are trying to incorporate disease resistance genes into these popular aromatic varieties. The major diseases in Ghana are rice yellow mottle virus and then rice blast diseases, and they can be very devastating.
So what do they do to the plant, the crop?
So for rice yellow mottle, that's why it's called yellow mottle. You see the leaf starts yellowing, yes, and then it becomes stunted, and then when the panicles or the flowers come, it darkens, okay, and then you don't get the spikeless filling. So you see the spikelet there, but it's just chaff.
The conventional method could take scientists up to 10 years to produce high-yielding quality and disease-resistant varieties.
And we are trying to incorporate those disease resistances into the popular aromatic varieties. But this is a painstakingly slow process, okay, because you have to cross the two parents. You grow your seed, and that is called the first filial generation, or the F1. Then you have to go through a next stage where you get the second filial, the F2, and then that is where it will segregate, and then you have all sorts of gene combinations from both parents. Okay, so if you select something in the F2, it's not stable yet. You have to grow it for about 6 times before you are able to stabilize it, and then you test it.
Senior researcher and rice breeder Dr. Maxwell Dako Asante says the new varieties are expected to improve production and produce quality.
In the last 10 or so years, okay, we have come out with very good jasmine type varieties. Okay, there's one called CRI Agra rice, which is very popular. Many people are planting it under the Planting for Food and Jobs program. We also have CRI Amankwetia. We also have Jasmine 85 or Boa rice, which was released by our colleagues in Sari. Okay, but the approach to breeding is that breeding is a product pipeline. Okay, the whole aim is also to be able to give farmers something which is higher yielding, something which has better grain quality, and when I say grain quality in Ghana, I mean long grain, aroma, and something that cooks soft. Okay, and then also has something that has resistance to the diseases.
Lack of general appreciation of the struggle of scientists to put new product on the market makes innovation difficult. Currently, Ghana needs a little over 1 million metric tons of milled rice to feed her population annually. Dr. Dako Asante says that can be achieved if government supports research and other activities in the value chain.
So there's no need for Ghana to import rice. Okay, we can produce rice to feed Ghana. We only need a little over 1 million metric tons of milled rice to feed Ghana. So government should keep on doing what it's doing as far as the Planting for Food and Jobs is concerned, but also support research where all these varieties are developed, okay, and then support everyone else in the value chain, because it's a value chain issue, okay. So no matter the efforts we put in here, okay, if the other parts of the value chain are broken, we don't see the bigger national impact. So
Ghana is striving to reduce rice importation as government targets to end imports altogether by 2022. The Ministry of Food and Agriculture says it has made some progress with maize. A report by Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin.
Away from the agri sector, let's do some trade talk now, because the Economist Intelligence Unit is projecting that the African Free Continental Free Trade Agreement deal could come off in late next year instead of the first quarter projection. This was contained in the unit analysis on the impact of trade deals on the Ghanaian economy. Joining me via Zoom for more on this is Apia Adomako, who is the sector coordinator of CAS International. Mr. Apia, grateful once again for joining us on Business Live. Mr. Apia, looks like you're on mute, so if you can unmute for us.
Okay.
Right, I can hear you now.
Very much. Thank you very much, and your viewers.
All right, so it's great having you back to have a discussion about the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. The last time we had a conversation, yes, Parliament had set some rules. The agreement with the AU on the host nation has also been signed and approved by Ghana's Parliament. This coming from the Economist Intelligence Unit about a possible delay towards the end of 2020. How are you receiving that?
I think I have read the report, but I do not share in the assessment that means that the start is going to delay till the third quarter or the last quarter of 2021. We've seen that heads of states are warming up towards the commencement of trading within the first quarter of next year. Though as of now, we do not have any firm date as to when it will start. But what AU has said in some forum is that if by the agreed date, those countries that are ready, they will be allowed to start. And those who are not ready can join later in the course of the year. So I do not share in the assessment of the EIU report.
So, yes, I've asked you this before. I'm going to ask you again. Yes, the AU is saying that by the time we are ready to take off, if you're not ready, you can join, and you cannot join if you're not ready. How does that bring about some synergy? Because we want to work in line with everybody. When we are ready to take off, then we can take off. So what does it mean for other countries to start before others?
I mean, we have about 52 member body in African here, member states, and getting 52 countries ready to start the trading on a set date is something which will be difficult. And even if you cast your mind back to the United States, when the Union was formed, they were, I think, 12 states were parties to the agreement, and then subsequently other states joined. Now, U.S. numbers about 52 states plus Washington, D.C. And if we want to wait to allow everybody to tidy up their domestic affairs, we might not get there. Even look at our own West Africa convergence criteria. Since 1994, we've been moving here and there because most countries are not meeting the target. But if the time that two countries made a target in 2001, it could have been better if ECOWAS had started the agreement. So I believe that if by first quarter or second quarter and 10 countries are ready, let them start. And that will be an incentive for others to look at them and then begin to also join the trading.
All right. So again, let's go back to the conversation we had the last time for the benefit of those who were not part of that conversation. You know, Ghana as a host country has signed the agreement as a host country with the AU. There were some clauses in that agreement. One has to do with tax free for some workers of the Secretariat. That's the people who are coming from elsewhere to come and work in the Secretariat in Ghana. And then also we have issues of tax exemption for some of them. And the Secretariat is also purchasing some apartment for the Secretary General. Let's revisit that conversation. Are you totally satisfied? Because we're talking about trying to broaden Ghana's tax net, and yet we want to give tax exemption to some foreigners who are coming to work at the Secretariat.
Yes, I think giving tax exemption to foreigners working under the Secretariat falls within the international, treaties. And so if someone comes to work in Ghana here for, let's say, 6 months, we don't even expect the person to pay Social Security contribution to SNIT. Because if, for example, you are working for AU, you spend first 6 months in Addis, another 8 months in South Africa, and then another 12 months in Cairo, you realize that you'll be paying your pension contribution to different countries. And when you turn 60, then it will be very, very laborious in trying to get what is due you. So most international bodies have their own pension schemes, which allows them to be exempted from paying or contributing to the host country's pension scheme. Now let's come to the tax agreement. I think when government was bidding to host the agreement, the Secretariat, government put some proposals to the AU that look, when we come, we will not allow you to pay tax on your earnings here. This is Ghana is not the only country. You go to Dubai, you go to most of these Middle East countries, for example, foreigners working there do not pay income tax. Because they do not pay income tax, they get more disposable income, and then they're able to spend more. And at the end of the day, the money stays in the economy. So where we may not get you direct tax, but then you still be paying indirect tax to the economy. And at the end of the day, all taxes head to the Ghana Revenue Authority. So I don't think it's a big issue of exempting them from payroll taxes.
All right. So quickly before you go, where you stand and signing that agreement, do you think by the first quarter of 2021, Ghana will be ready, will be part of the first countries to start?
I think Ghana is more than ready to start the agreement. You can't be ready at 100%, but at least we've made some initial, more preparatory steps to be able to start trading. The others will learn and then patch things up as we go. Right. I'm very hopeful Ghana will be able to start trading once the opening bell is sound.
Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Piakusi Adomaku is the Center Coordinator of CARTS International. Away from that, creator of the popular Veronica Bucket, in the person of Veronica Beck, who says her biggest mistake ever was the failure to patent her innovation. This has made her to lose copyright and patent demands, especially as many countries across the world have adopted her innovation. She's lost so much cash in the process. She spoke to Charles Aite.
I didn't look ahead to improve upon it, or I never thought that it would be this popular. I didn't patent mine, which was a big mistake on my part. So I hope people out there will help these young ones who are coming up with all these new things to do, first of all, do the patenting, and then encourage them, support them either financially or otherwise, so that they move them ahead.
I'm quite curious to know, so does it mean your innovation wasn't patented?
It wasn't.
That was a huge mistake you made.
It was a huge mistake, and I don't want anybody to make that mistake. So I'm advising the youth who are coming up with all these innovations on the Veronica Bucket to really persevere. Make sure they patent, seek support to move it forward. We tend to copy too much. You see, even bread selling. You see one person selling bread somewhere. Before you are aware, about 10 other people have joined the person. We should be more innovative and make sure that whatever we come out with, it should be unique, like you rightly said. And people should stop copying the same thing. They should look elsewhere, move ahead. Maybe build on whatever exists, and then come out with something different. We are too fond of copying.
The issue of copying, you can catch the full story tomorrow on AM Business with Charles Aite. Away from that, the Ghana Airport Company has rejected claims by former President John Dramani Mahama that its indebtedness forced the company to opt for the sale of the Kotoka International Airport. In a statement by the Airport Company Limited, it has rejected all the claims by the former president, describing them as untrue. Here is what the former president said, and it is captured in this report by Fred Duho.
Former President John Mahama says privatization of the Kotoka International Airport should not be an option even if government is in desperate need of money to revamp operations. He suggested that government can decide to sell portions of land around the airport in order to generate the needed revenue.
And I think that is absolutely wrong. Even if you sold some of the lands around the airport, you'll be able to raise far more than $70 million. So if it's $70 million we want, the other ways of raising it, the value of the lands around the airport alone are far in excess of $70 million.
He further stressed the need for government to consider partnership and not surrender 66% shares of the airport ownership.
Given a concession to take over the airport and run it. The concession is a disguise. Behind that, in the period of the concession, 66% of the ownership share of the airport will be transferred to the Turkish company at a cost of $70 million.
Meanwhile, the aviation minister, Joseph Kofi Adda, in an earlier interview with Charles Aite, maintained that the airport needs strategic investors.
And I think going forward, we have to look at any of the strategic partnership. And that should bring a lot more to Ghana Airport Company. And so that was something that we're looking at in terms of what we really do with any entity that sees potential in Ghana that it wants to be part of the operations of Ghana's aviation sector.
I have that statement by the Ghana Airport Company Limited. Let's go through what they've been saying about the former president's statement. He said the attention of the Ghana Airports Company Limited, GACL, has been drawn to an interview granted by former President His Excellency John Dramani Mahama on Wezo TV, in which he made certain claims about Kotoka International Airport. For the records, Kotoka International Airport is not for sale or being privatized, as stated by GACL in an earlier press release. Rather, an unsolicited proposal has been received from a Turkish consortium which is yet to be considered. It's rather unfortunate that certain figures from the proposals are being used to peddle untruth. The following are GACL's comments on some statements that have been made. And let me take you back to what the former president said. The first one has to do with an investment of almost $600 million was done in that Kotoka International Airport development. And then GCL is responding to say that they claim that an investment of $600 million was made at Kotoka International Airport is incorrect. It added that the amount may be in reference to funding of projects in all airports, including $130 million runway project at Tamale Airport and $225 million new airport at Ho. Then again, the former president made a comment that they talk about not being able to receive the loans that were taken in to develop the airport. The GCL is responding that they claim that GCLA has been unable to service the syndicated loan facility is untrue. To date, GACL has met its payment obligation under the loan facility. Then again, former President Mahama was said to have made a comment about, apart from the fact that these loans are unsecured anyway, and so if government has not triggered the force majeure, the way to go is not to sell off the property. And it goes on, and GCLA has been responding to all the comments that have been made by former President John Dramani Mahama with regards to the sale or alleged sale of the Kotoka International Airport. But that's how we end the program tonight on Business Live. You can join us for more stories on Prime Time with me when I come your way at 7 p.m. Also get more news on myjoyonline.com/business. I am Sandra Esinamape. Thanks so much for watching.